Hello. The older you are, the better you are, particularly when it comes to manifestation. That is the topic for today's video. The older you are, the better you are. So, if you've ever had a question about manifesting, about, how do I manifest looking my best as I age? Or how do I reverse aging? Or how do I burst past some of these limitations that often seem to accompany aging? Today's video is a really good one for you. And to be honest, this video is really needed because I've been seeing lots of questions in the chat. And I've gotten questions like this for a long time, but I feel like I'm getting more and more of them. Questions that are related to making improvements as you age. So things like, maybe I want to have a baby, but I'm in my 40s. I feel like I can't do that. Or maybe I'm going through menopause and I don't want to deal with that. How do I get rid of that? Or I want to start a new career, but I feel like I'm too old. Or I don't like these gray hairs. I don't like these wrinkles. How do we manifest this stuff away? Okay, lots of questions, and they all seem to stem around this idea and this limitation of aging. And so this is a really important topic because I feel like the aging limitation is one that the vast majority of people have. There is this belief that as you age, things are going to get worse. And because you create your reality, that's not the way you want to look at it. You can actually change your mindset to one that makes aging a positive rather than a negative. And so today we're going to talk about how you do that. How do we gain that mindset so that you get better as you age? And you can guarantee that over time. Okay, so that's the topic for today. Of course, if you guys have questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them into the chat. I always love trying to answer as many of those as I can. Yes, I'm here on a Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed your Easter Sunday yesterday, if you celebrated it or if you just took it easy. Usually I'm here on Sundays, but today I came for a Monday. Thank you, Snow Sparkle, for the super. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Nice to see all of you. Hopefully you guys can all hear me. It looks like you guys can, but let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Nice to see everybody over here on Instagram as well. Let's see. Hi, Z Faroki. You were listening to an old YouTube live just now. Hello, Banji. Nice to see you guys. Also, Happy Daisy, Ellen Ames, Raise Our Eye View, Adrian, Brando, TX, Salika, Annette, Cheryl Ann, Snow Sparkle. Nice to see all of you. Welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, today's topic is about you get better as you get older. The older you are, the better you are. And this is a mindset that you all want to adopt because it's very common that the opposite is the case. Most people have the opposite perspective. Okay, so the common belief structure is that there's a fear of aging and that aging equals loss. That's what most people believe. Aging equals loss. I'm going to lose my health. I'm going to lose my wealth. I'm going to lose my vitality. I'm going to lose my relationships. I'm going to lose. That's the mindset that most people have about aging. And again, we got to be careful about what belief structures we buy into because your reality is just a dream. It's a dreamscape that you are creating through your belief structures. So if you have a belief structure that says aging is loss, then you can look forward to losing as time progresses. Not because you have to, but because that's the way you've defined the reality in front of you. And as you probably noticed, some people don't have that experience. There are some people that age very, very well. There are some people who come into success very late in life. There are some people that look extraordinarily youthful at a very advanced age. Well, these people have a different way of looking at aging. And we all want to cultivate this different way of viewing aging. It's very, very important. Okay. So one thing I want to talk about is the concept of anti-aging. I think This is what I want to put in here because there's so much stuff out there for anti-aging. Have you seen this? Supplements to help anti-aging or practices for anti-aging, skincare for anti-aging. And so there is this emphasis in the culture to fight against or resist aging. Okay? And what do we know about resistance? Okay? What we resist persists. So if we're trying to resist the negative effects of aging, we're actually going to amplify and accelerate them. That's the grand irony. Okay? So here's some food for thought. Okay? If aging is something that you would like to reverse or you would like to see work in your favor, I want you to think about this. A lot of times people think that, you know, if you do all of those regimens, if you do the skincare and you get the Botox and you get the filler and you get the surgeries and you do all this anti-aging stuff, those are the people that are going to look youthful. Okay? That's actually not true. Okay? That's not true. That's actually not what's creating the youthful effect. And you can tell this because there are two different ways that these things go. For some people, if they choose to go down that route, they will have remarkable results. And so those are the ones that you guys will look at. You'll see people that have done things externally to themselves to make themselves look youthful. And the belief structure is that wasn't because of their mindset, that was just because of the plastic surgery or whatever it was that they got. There are people like that. But there are also people who do the exact same thing. Maybe they go get the Botox, they go get the filler, they go get the surgery, but it does not come out well. And in some cases, it actually makes them look older. And I'm sure you guys have seen this. You've probably seen that some people go and do all of that stuff and they look spectacular, and some people it actually ages them more. This is why, okay? It's not because of what they're doing to the external world. It's about the belief structure that those people have. And so this is an important thing to understand because the anti-aging idea is actually one that gets in the way. If you are trying to do things to prevent aging, you actually accelerate it because what you resist persists. Another way to look at this, I ran across something, I was online watching YouTube videos, and there was some trend that was going on. I don't know if any of you saw it. If you did, let me know. There was some trend that was going on, I think a few months ago, where they were talking about how Gen Z is aging. And they're aging so much faster than the rest of the population. They're not really, but the way that they look, and they were bringing up all these videos of kids that are younger, like in their 20s, who are looking much older than they actually are. Well, what's going on here? Well, a lot of times what's happening is that you have this younger demographic who is trying to resist aging. That's what's going on. So a lot of them are going out and getting things done like plastic surgery, injections, all this kind of stuff in an attempt to make themselves look younger, but it actually does the exact opposite thing. It ages them. So I'm bringing this up because I want everyone to understand that whether or not you look young or not, or whether or not you have a youthful aging experience, really doesn't matter what kind of products you're slapping on your face and what you're doing at the med spa or any of that. What matters is your attitude about it. If you're trying to fight aging, you will actually accelerate it. If instead you have a mindset that as I get older, I get better, you will have a very different experience with the way that you interpret and experience aging in your reality. So it's very important if you want to have the enhanced aging experience that you cultivate this mindset that as I get older, I get better. And that aging is an advantage rather than a disadvantage. You got to flip it. So what we're talking about today, a lot of times people want to get to a place of neutrality. As long as I'm neutral, I'll be okay. So as long as I'm okay with getting older, it'll be fine. That's an improvement. But what I want for you to adopt is the mentality that aging is a good thing and I want to age. I want to get older. I'm looking forward to it because that way of looking at aging actually puts you in a mindset where you're detached from the idea of being degenerative and losing, and you're looking forward to what you're going to gain as you get older. Because again, the fundamental belief structure is aging is loss. That's what we have to flip. So if you're excited to get older, you're not focused on the loss, are you? You're focused on what you're going to gain. So that's one of the big flips, is looking forward to getting older rather than not. And we're going to talk about how you do that. Okay, we're going to talk about how you do that. See if we got any questions in here to answer real quick before I continue on. Raise our eye view. Love it. Old people win because they don't give a hoot, aspiring to be more that way. How do I catch myself when I start to care too much? That is true. And that's, I don't even think that was a point. Is that a point I was even going to make? I have a lot of points for today. I don't even think I was going to make that point. So I'm glad you brought that up. You guys may notice this. Like, older people don't care as much. Not all of them. Some of them still kind of care a little bit. But have you guys noticed this? That older people, they're just detached. They're a little bit more detached. And that's one of the ways that they win. Okay, so that's one of the things that you can look forward to as you age, is that you just don't care so much anymore. And I'm sure you guys have all seen older people like that. What do we know about manifestation? We know that the more detached you are, the easier it is for you to manifest things. The less you care, the easier it is for you to manifest things. And so when we see a demographic of people who don't care as much, these are people that are actually going to have an easier time manifesting than the traditional younger crowd that cares a little bit more. Okay? So how do you catch yourself when you start to care too much? Just notice it. Take a break. The big thing is to stop the momentum simply by putting a pin in it and distracting yourself. So whenever I notice that I'm getting stressed out about something or anxious, or I'm starting to care, instead of trying to figure out how to care less or figure out how to do things right, I just take a deep breath and I notice that, okay, we're a little bit off. Take a deep breath and then go focus on something else. Go do something different. That's it. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate the focus on the care. Distracting yourself from it and just going and putting your nose in something else, like a phone call or reading a book or watching a video, what that will immediately do is it takes your focus off of that subject that you care about. And the reason why we care is because we're holding on to ideas. The more you think about that thing that you care about, the more it sucks you in. So the remedy is simply to go focus on something else. But making that a habit. Every time you feel yourself caring, okay, time to go do something else. Okay, time to go do something else. That's how you train yourself into that vibration of not caring. Good question. Oh, it's Bernadette's first live. Nice to see you, Bernadette. Thanks for joining. Very good. Story You with Coach Debbie is having a blast approaching 60. Good. Excellent. Because there's so much to look forward to, right? A whole new chapter. Awesome. Rila asks, do you use Askformations and Affirmations? Yes, I use both. The difference between when I use them is if it's something I already kind of believe in, it's an affirmation. Okay? So I believe that I'm a healthy person, or I believe that I'm a strong person. Those things are pretty dominant for myself. So I will reinforce that. I am strong. I am healthy. Those are affirmations because I already kind of believe in them. If you don't believe in the affirmation, it can make the energy kind of squirrely. Okay? So if I were going to say something like, I'm going to be the president of the United States. Okay. First of all, I have no expectation or belief that that's ever going to happen. So if I was going to affirm that, it would make me feel that that was false. Okay. So whenever it feels false, you move to an ask formation. If it feels false, move to an ask formation. How am I going to become the president of the United States rather than I am the president of the United States? Asking the question puts you in the receiving mode for evidence that it's going to come true for you. So there, I use them both, but in different places. Ahmed says I can be vice president. I'm good. That one's not on my bucket list. Definitely not. Jay Santucci just bought the Golden Path course, and the talk is the perfect complement. Thank you. Good. Thank you for signing up. Yeah, that a lot of you guys signed up for the Golden Path program. Thank you so much. Hope you guys are enjoying it. That one was a big launch. Actualize 81 wants to talk about fertility in your 50s and higher. Yeah, we had somebody had asked about fertility in their 40s. And so it's the same kind of mentality, but there was a question that came in earlier a few weeks ago about somebody asking about how to become pregnant in their 40s. And so that's one of the big hangups with aging for women if they want to get pregnant, because there's so much out there that, oh, you're a geriatric pregnancy if you're over 35, or your chances of getting pregnant are so slim if XYZ. And so what I had done was I actually asked the chat, you know, do you guys have any evidence of people getting pregnant in their 40s and later? And it was remarkable, all the people that were chiming in and saying, my sister got pregnant, or my cousin got pregnant, or this happened, that happened. And so you want to start looking for evidence that it happens at those ages. Because the only reason it doesn't happen for most people is because the belief structure is that just doesn't happen at that age. All right. So what you want to do to revert, if you're looking for more fertility at a quote unquote advanced age, the affirmation you want to be asking is, how can I get pregnant in my 50s? Or what women are getting pregnant in their 50s. And so we can even ask the chat, and if you guys know of any stories of people getting pregnant in their 50s or cultures where that's normal, looking for that kind of evidence will start to plant the seed in your mind that, oh, this is possible. This is something that happens. This is something that can be done. That's all it takes. Okay, that's really all it takes. We believe that there are some limitations that are hard and fast just because we see most people struggling with those limitations. No limitations are hard and fast. It's just a question of whether or not we believe in them. Okay, so for you, I would be saying, go look for evidence of people getting pregnant at those ages, because what you look for, you will attract more of. You'll start to attract those stories into your reality, and then it's going to start to seem normal to you because so many people are doing it. And once it's normal to you, you'll start to think, oh, I could do it too. Then you're golden. That's the pathway there. Great question. Snow Sparkle says, thank you for the super. Appreciate you. She says, I'm 51 and people think I'm 40 with no work and I tan. LOL, men hit on me a lot. I'm consistently better at all I do. Dance, handstands, and contortion. I also just got into a program at Stanford U. See, there we go. Okay, so that's so totally not the standard expectation of someone who's 51, right? But this can all be done. And the reason why she's having this success is because she has a positive attitude. She's just getting warmed up. I'm just getting going. I got so many things I want to do. And she's looking ahead to what she's going to gain. That's why she's able to get. Okay, so this is the attitude that you want to have in order to gain more. Thank you so much for sharing that. Excellent, excellent. Another question here from Monica. Thank you for the super, Monica. Monica asks, I'm supposed to be moving into an apartment on May 1st. It is delayed because the current tenants won't leave. Now I'm going to be in a hotel and then a friend's couch. Help. Accept it. Okay? Accept it rather than push against it. That's the pathway through. So usually in a situation like this, and there's lots of situations like this where things aren't lining up the way I want them to line up. Okay? The way a person usually interprets this is, I have to fight against this. I have to change this. This is bad. Okay? That's usually the energy that we're putting at something like this. If you're looking at this situation as, this is a problem, this is causing me anxiety, we need to change this, now we're resisting this situation with the tenants. And as long as we're doing that, the tenants are going to keep doing what they're doing, because what you resist persists. So what you want to do instead, Monica, is you want to look at, how is this an advantageous situation? Because if you look at this as an advantageous situation, you will become detached. Once you are detached, you are going to be in alignment with your preferred outcome. So if I were in this situation, I would be looking at this as an adventure. Or, you know what? It'll be nice to stay in a hotel for a while because I don't need to do all the cleaning and I don't need to do this. I don't need to worry about lawn care. I don't need to get things set up. I can just kind of chill for a while. It's nice. I can hang out with my friend for a while. This is going to be a fun little adventure. This is going to be a moment in time that I'm always going to remember because it was this weird time where I was kind of all over the place and didn't have a place to live. It was kind of an adventure. It reminds me of when I was, for some strange reason, it reminds me of when I was young. There was a time where my parents were moving from Michigan to New Mexico. Okay, Michigan to New Mexico. And they were unable to line up the housing to coincide at the same time. Okay, so they were able to get people in to sublet our home because we were only going to move for a year. That's the story, and then come back. So they were able to get people in the house, but then the next house wasn't going to be open for a few months. All right. Now, my parents are not great manifestors. I'm going to be straight with you. They're really not, but they did this one really well. Okay. Instead of getting all bent out of shape, we were moving from Michigan to New Mexico. What they said instead was, okay, well, we got a couple months. We've always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. We've always wanted to go to Bryce Canyon. We've always wanted to do all these things in the Southwest. So they just took that time and did like this 2-month vacation where we traveled and saw the Southwest. And it was a true adventure at this time where I didn't technically have a home. So I'm telling you this because that's the kind of attitude you want to have. This is an adventure right now. If you have the adventure experience, now you're going to have fun during this interim and you're not going to push these tenants any further. Okay, they're going to get up and go quicker. Hope that's helpful. All right, great questions. All right, again, today's topic is the older you are, the better you are. Oh, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, just a quick heads up. Nothing for you guys to sign up for today, but I did want to let you know that my annual abundance sale is coming up next month from April 15th to the 22nd. So if you've been looking at any of my abundance packages, or if you haven't yet and you'd like to take a look, we do have links in the description. I'm sure Mary's going to drop them into the chat if she hasn't already, but you can go take a look at all of my abundance packages at that link. All of those programs are going to be at their lowest price of the year next month. Okay, so that's a pretty big sale that's coming up. Just wanted to give you guys the heads up that that is on the way. All right, let's jump back into it though. What's our next point? This is something I've got so much to talk about. Usually when I do a live, I have like a page of chicken scratches, okay? For this one, it was like page after page. There's so many things I want to say about it. I'm probably not gonna be able to get through all of it. If you guys like this video, maybe we'll do another one if I miss some of it, which I probably will. Okay, so how do we change our mindset about aging? Okay, how do we get into that mindset that Snow Sparkle evidently has, where as I get older, I get better? And so because I have that mindset, I'm looking younger, I'm accomplishing more, I'm making more money, my relationships are getting better, my life is getting progressively better, rather than that degenerative view of loss that most people are having, okay? So here's one of the big things I want you guys to think about. If you ever have a moment where you see something or you experience something that makes you feel old, maybe you see a picture of yourself or you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and you see a wrinkle, or someone calls you ma'am at the grocery store, something happens. And in that moment, you start to kind of feel old and you get that twinge that there's loss. This is the mindset. This is what I always think about. And it's become so dominant now that these things just don't bother me anymore. Okay, they really don't. And so the way I want you to think about it is that, would you trade places? That's the question. So whenever you feel a twinge of aging, ask yourself, would I trade places with the younger version of myself? So think back to maybe the younger ideal that maybe you're wishing you kind of were in that moment, who maybe didn't have the gray hair or didn't have the XYZ. Look back at that person and ask yourself, would I trade places with them? Because overwhelmingly, when I ask people this question, the answer is no. That younger person may have had a more youthful look or a younger attitude. However, in order to trade places with that person, the price tag is just too high. This is the thing. Whenever I look back on my youth, I would never want to go back, ever. I've learned too much. I've gained too much. I've accomplished too much. All the relationships I'd have to give up. I'd have to give up my children. There's so many things I'd have to give up to swap with that younger version of myself. And so this is one of the big things that I like to remind myself of and tell other people to remind themselves of. Would I trade places? Because what you'll notice is I'm in the better position at this age. This age is better than that age. Because if it wasn't, I'd go running there, but I'm not. I'd rather stay here and have all the things that I have. Why? Because older is better. Older is better. Older is better. Do you see how this way of thinking is going to flip your mindset? If we project this up into the future, this will give you an opportunity to look forward to getting older as well. Because think about it. If the younger version of yourself, maybe it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you would not trade places with that person, the future older version of yourself ain't going to want to change places with you either. So now I have something to look forward to. Life's going to even just get better because I'm not going to want to come back to this. I'm going to be happy about that age in 5-10 years. It's a remarkable thing. It really is, because as we move on through life, that's one of the big things about the universe is it's always expanding. And so for that reason, we always have desires and we always have goals. We always have things we want to manifest because we always want more. And because of that, as your life progresses, you're always becoming more, becoming more, becoming more. So regardless of how good your manifesting game is, okay, you're always becoming more. So that's the thing to understand. Now, this way of looking at things gets you excited about hitting 60, 70, 80. It gets you excited about moving in that direction rather than the opposite belief structure that most people have, which is I want to stop the clock. You do not want to stop the clock because things always get better. You never want to trade down. Okay, so that's one of the big things to start telling yourself every single time you have a little hang up about getting older. Ask yourself, would I trade places with the 16-year-old me, with the 20-year-old me, with the 30-year-old me? No, absolutely not. That gets you to appreciate your current age and look forward to getting older, which puts you in alignment with older being better. Okay, that's one of the big ones. Oh, we got another super. Opulent Beauty, thank you for the super. Opulent Beauty says, my daughter, 4 years old, has been suffering from a mysterious illness for about a month. The doctors say all her labs are fine. Are there any affirmations I can say to change the situation and heal her faster? Ooh, great question. Well, one thing is, all her labs are fine. All the tests are coming out fine. That's one thing. The other thing is, what we resist persists. And so this is something a lot of the moms out there, right? A lot of the moms, I know I've gone through this. We worry about our children. And so if we see something like an illness or a problem, we start to worry about it. But the worrying about it is what keeps it active. So what I want you to be focused on instead is it's not really a problem with her. It's not a problem with her. It's my worry that's being manifested into reality, where there's this effect that's happening because I'm paying attention to something I don't want. I tell a story, and I'll tell it again because I haven't told it in a long time, okay? But my son, when he was young, probably like a year or two older than your daughter, he came down with a condition called molluscum. Have any of you guys heard of this? Molluscum? It's this, it's like a skin disorder where you get little bumps on your skin. They're almost like tiny little warts, okay? But they happen in humidity. And so sometimes little boys and girls, if they're playing out in the humidity, and we live in Florida, it can happen. But the thing about molluscum that they'll tell you is that it can go away quickly or it can last a long time. And if it lasts a long time, it can cause scarring, it can go all over the body. And when I first heard about the diagnosis, I started to worry about it. Okay. And I went online and I started looking at pictures of it. Terrible idea. Okay. How bad can it get? And I was doing all the things. I was taking him to all the specialists. I wouldn't let that kid get even remotely moist, okay? I was toweling him off and washing him down constantly. And the condition continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, fortunately, at the time, this was pretty early in my learning about the law of attraction, but I had a few years under my belt. And so I understood kind of what was going on. And after I was noticing that all that effort wasn't doing any good, I started to dial back. Okay. Instead of going all in, I just did exactly what the doctor told me to do. No more, no less. Stop looking online and started to focus on everything's going to be okay. And the more I pulled away, the more the molluscum started to fade. So instead of more, there was less. So just try pulling back the reins. Stop worrying so much. Focus on how she's okay and what's going well. Resist that urge to go Googling things, pull away. And what you'll notice is the more you pull away, the healthier she starts to get. And should you start to dial in, notice the same, that as I dial in, she's getting worse. Because what that will do is it's going to train you to understand that it's just responding to you. Okay? That's the big thing. Good question. Alika? Thank you for the super, Alika. What country is SEK? Oh, I don't know which one that is. Thank you. Hi, my daughter got hospitalized for psychosis. I'm heartbroken. I spend time with her every day, being for her ups and downs. Doctors believe it's genetics. How would you deal with this situation? It's a learning experience for you and for her. So with the diagnosis, when things like this happen, people see it as being chronic, or they see it as being something they need to worry about for the rest of their lives. Whenever something happens, guys, you want to look at it as this is a learning experience for us that's teaching us how to manifest better and is teaching us about our potential. That's the big thing. Because there's a reality where this ends and she moves on to be very happy and healthy. And when you align with that, you're going to understand why this happened in the first place. And it's going to help you and her both become better manifestors down the road. Resist the temptation to look at this as an ongoing, lifelong problem. And instead, see it as a temporary lesson or manifesting challenge for the two of you. This is another, I don't talk about this a lot, but this is another way to deal with life's hiccups. Look at them as a temporary challenge that's causing you to become a stronger manifester. Because when you look at things that way, instead of resisting them, I need this psychosis to go away, it needs to go away, go away, go away, and you're resisting it, you're keeping it active. Instead, you're saying, oh, it's a challenge. Okay, bring it in. I'm going to accept it. I accept the challenge. When you accept the challenge, you're validating that what's going on is actually a positive thing that is serving both you and your daughter. And then what happens is the negativity neutralizes out of it and you transcend the situation. Okay? Now, moms love their kids. That's a good thing. But when we worry, that's when we start getting too far into it. Okay? Ooh, another super from Louise. Louise, thank you. Louise says, I also wouldn't trade places with my younger self. But a big one for me was to stop comparing myself to younger people and acknowledge that I look great compared to people of my old age. Yes. Yes. That's another, okay. That's a great thing. Let's put this in real quick because I want to expand on what Louise just said here. Here's something I think about along these lines. So everybody wants to be young. I want to look as good as the 18-year-olds. Come on now. Think about it. An 18-year-old looking youthful is par for the course. Congratulations to them for being par for the course. That's what they look. They look young at 18. That's normal, okay? But if you look good for your age at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, that is impressive. You see? You have more of an advantage older than you do younger for being recognized for how beautiful or handsome you are. Greater opportunity. Because when somebody who is at a more advanced age looks good for their age, wow, everyone's really excited and amazed about that. No one's excited or amazed about an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old who looks young. They look like they're their age, right? So can you see how that's another way where older is better? You have a greater advantage to be seen as more beautiful or more handsome at an older age because it's more remarkable. You don't have that advantage when you're younger. So that's another way to look at older is better. Thanks for bringing that up. Great point. Let's get into another one. Okay, so we're going to talk about how older is better. And these are the mentalities I want you guys to adopt so that as time is progressing, you're looking forward to getting older. And because you're looking forward to getting older, your aging experience is actually improving over time rather than deteriorating. So here's a fun fact that I'd like you guys to remember. Always bring this one back up to the forefront of your consciousness if you find yourself dwelling on aging. It is a documented fact. I guess you could say fact. I don't like the word facts, but we'll say it's a documented fact because it's documented. It's out there. The happiest demographic, statistically speaking, are the elderly. The happiest on planet Earth demographic, if you poll people ages 0 to 100, the happiest people on the planet are statistically speaking the oldest. It's been shown again and again and again. It's a very interesting thing. People are so terrified of aging, and yet that's when you're going to be the happiest. Look it up. If you don't believe me, look it up. This is a really great thing to understand about aging is that even if you're scared of getting older, doesn't matter. You're going to be happier when you get older. And it kind of dials back to what somebody mentioned a little bit ago about how older people don't care. Remember somebody mentioned that how one of the reasons that older people are happier is because they don't care. My feelings on this is that the aging process is the process of letting go. Aging is your material way of letting go. People who are older have started to disidentify with their body. They've started to disidentify with their material success. They've started to disidentify with caring what other people think. And so because they do all of those things, older people are, generally speaking, much happier than younger people for that reason. Now, what do we know about manifestation? Who manifests better results? Happy people or unhappy people? Happy people. The higher your vibration, the better you manifest. And if you think about it, older people do a pretty darn good job. They are not expected, they're not out there, generally speaking, with as many responsibilities. They're not out there expected to do as much work. A lot of them get to play golf or, do what they want to do, hang out. And in a large part, they're taken care of. Maybe they've got money that's been stacked up, or they've got family members that are taking care of them. Something's going on where they are now receiving the ability to be supported, rather than the younger generations who still care a lot and who have to do all this work and action to make things happen. They've surrendered. They're letting go and they're allowing things to work out for them. Can you see that? So if for nothing else, just remember this. The older you get, the happier you get. It's kind of a graph too. It's not just the oldest. So if you look up the data, it's like a bell curve. You can see it's pretty strong. So people are the happiest on either ends of their life. So when they're younger, like when you're children, there's generally more happiness. But as you get to be about to your mid-30s, this is the apex of the most stressed people get. Okay, and there's reasons for that. People have children, they've got jobs, they've got responsibilities, they care. The unhappiness is usually at the highest in midlife. But then as people get older, they slide back into happiness. So this is a really great thing to understand is that even if you don't believe that things are working out, you are going to get happier over time. And isn't that what we're all doing anyway with these things that we want to manifest is we're trying to be happy? Well, rest assured, you will be happier when you get older. So that's another thing to remind yourself of. And having that mentality is going to give you a reason to look forward. So if you're stressed right now, well, it's okay. As I get older, I'm going to get happier. Next year is going to be even happier. The year after that's going to be even happier. It's something to look forward to. And when you're looking forward to what's coming is going to be positive rather than negative. Okay, so that's the next one. If you guys haven't yet, please make sure to go ahead and subscribe Usually I do these twice a week. I haven't been here for 2 weeks. I've been slacking. But usually I'm here twice a week, and usually it's Sundays and Thursdays. But please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notifications so that even if I switch it up and do it on a Monday, you're still notified that I'm going live. And I do stream to Facebook, YouTube, as well as Instagram. So make sure to come along. And if you haven't yet, please also make sure to take my manifesting test. So if you want to know for sure that you really are the creator of your reality, I've designed a very quick and free 5-minute test where you can prove it to yourself, where you can put something out and watch it come back so that you know with certainty that you're the one creating your reality. You can take that test at manifestingtest.com. Again, that's manifestingtest.com. Links are always in the description of my videos on Facebook and YouTube. On Instagram, the links are always in the link tree in my bio. But go ahead and take that test if you haven't yet. Again, today we're talking about older is better. This is so important. I would say the money hang up is a big one. A lot of people have lack mentality with money. Aging is a huge one. People are just terrified of getting older, and you don't need to be. Life can get better. It doesn't have to get worse. The only reason it appears that it gets worse for lots of people is because they have a degenerative view of aging, that aging equals loss. We don't want to look at it that way. Aging equals gain. It's going to be better. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to have more. Things are going to be better. That's the way you want to be looking at your future, so that as you age, you have that really great aging experience. You know, maybe like that Jennifer Lopez staying young forever look. Okay? Or that elderly person that hits success as they're getting towards the end of their life. You want to have that experience, then you have to have the expectation and the belief structure that older is better. Not it's okay to be older, not I'm going to deal with it. No, literally older is better. That's the mentality you want to have. Okay. There's so much going on here. Let's see what I want to say next here. Yeah, let's piggyback a little bit on the last one, because there's more I want to say. Talked a little bit about the bell curve, right? The happiness curve. So the older you get, the happiest demographic is the oldest. So that's one thing to look forward to. But the other thing is too, is it is, like I mentioned, it goes up and down from childhood to the aging, okay? Aging, if you look at it, is a second chance for childhood. It's like a second childhood. This is another thing that I've been dwelling on and thinking about as I've been getting older, because I'm 45 now. And I've noticed that that apex time where the most stress, that middle life that I told you about, starting to kind of pass over. And I'm starting to notice something, and I'm viewing it in my reality, that it's like it's a reverse aging thing that kind of happens. So people, as they get older, it's like they become adults at middle age, but then they start to get younger again, in mentality, at least. Okay. So what I mean by this is, when you're like in that middle age demographic where you have the most responsibilities, you've got the children, maybe you've got aging parents to take care of in a job. This is when people care the most. They're the most stressed out. They have the hardest time usually at that time in life. But as those responsibilities start to wane, what ends up happening is the person becomes a little bit more carefree. And so if you look at people that are getting like into their 50s and their 60s, they start to look a lot more and act a lot more like teenagers. Have you guys noticed this? That teenagers and people like in their 50s and 60s have kind of almost a similar mentality. A more kind of F it, I'm just going to have fun and do what I want kind of attitude. Not so serious. And then the older you get, the younger your mentality gets still. So this is another great thing to think about as you guys are getting older, is that as you get older, it's a second chance at childhood. Okay, so the people who are the oldest, who do not have the responsibilities that the people in middle age have, they can simply focus on doing what they want to do, like you did when you were a child. So if you think way back when, to when maybe you were 4 or 5 or 6 years old, when you were really, really young, Did you care about manifesting cars and money and what kind of job you were going to have and what kind of relationship you didn't care about any of that. You didn't care about any of that. And that's why childhood is so magical, because children, they don't have any of that stuff. They don't have any of those concerns. And they live in the present moment, in the land of make-believe, having a good time. And they're able to do that because they're not tied to the material world the way somebody kind of in their early middle age is. Well, if we look at that bell curve, that's what you can look forward to. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of this anti-aging crap really starts happening at the time that's the most stressful. So if I look at women and men who are the most concerned about getting older, it usually is occurring at middle age. That's when they're getting the most stressed about, oh my gosh, I'm going to get older. You should be real excited because life's about to get better for you. Not only are you going to be happier, but you're going to be more childlike in your mind. You're going to have a second chance at childhood. This is another thing you want to be thinking about. Everyone's trying to hold on to their youth at the apex of stress, which is, it's completely backwards. You should be excited about moving to that other side of the bell curve because that's where the happiness and the more youthful attitude actually is. So that's another thing that I like to think about that puts me in alignment with the idea of being excited about getting older rather than clinging to whatever year you're sitting at in the present moment. Oh, SEK stands for Sweden? Oh, thank you for letting me know. Appreciate you. Ooh, blackout 24:30. What if there's an age limit? I'm 34 trying to play professional basketball. They stopped looking at players at 32, but I am good enough to dominate NBA talent because I've done it many times. Then do it. Then do it. So what I would be thinking about in a situation like that, let's use athletics as inspiration here. The athletes that we are the most inspired by, the athletes that probably you watched as a child that made you want to even do this in the first place, they all have one thing in common, which is that they defied the limits. They did something no one did before. They did it faster or stronger, or they did it when they were shorter or they were bigger. There was something that they did that was outside of what had ever been done before, and that's why they were a fantastic athlete. So I would look at this. That's your advantage should you want to accept it. That's the challenge for you to shift that limit should you accept it. Nobody wants to just be, okay, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't think anybody aspires to be in the NBA and be mediocre, right? That's not what you want. You want to be in the NBA and be, by your definition, you want to dominate. Well, what's more of a dominating force? Somebody who came in at the standard age or someone who came in guns a-blazing at 34? If you do that, you really set yourself apart. That's what you have to look at it as, is that's the opportunity that the universe is giving you to really be the amazing athlete. Do you see? So we don't want to look at it as a bad thing. And by the way, 34 years old, for men at 34 are very strong. They're very big, very built up, lots more muscle. Like, yes, but you can't look at it through that lens. Okay. You have to look at it as this is the advantage. They're going to notice me because I'm 34. Make sense? Hope that's helpful. Boshaw, thank you for the super. I appreciate you. Please, any mindset tips to help with hair shed? Ooh, hair shedding. I like get excited about that. I get excited about that because I actually had that once upon a time. I forgot. So it's like anything else. When you sit there and fight against it, you attract more of it. So, and this is the big thing. When you guys start obsessing about these things, it causes it to accelerate. So I remember there was a time where that was kind of going on for me. And I started to, oh, there's all this hair in the drain. And then there was more, and then there was more, and it was and the only reason it was happening was because I was becoming fixated on it. Okay. So the big thing is we don't want to become fixated on it. If it falls out, whatever. I might look into something as a what do we call it? Permission slip. That's the word. Look into something as a permission slip. Okay, so I would probably do just a quick Google search. This doesn't have to be big, but this is a great suggestion for any of you guys dealing with anything. How do how do we improve hair, keeping my hair? How do I make sure that my hair stops shedding? Find something online and just take it as prescribed and decide in your mind, okay, this is going to fix it. And then don't bother looking, okay? You can say, okay, well, this is going to take a month or so for it to kick in, so now I don't need to worry about it. I'm taking the pill or I'm putting the stuff in my hair. And it's not because the pill or the thing works. This is the thing to understand. Go find something that you can endow with some faith that it's going to help you. And then use that as your reason. Well, I can't check this for the next month anyway, because it's going to take a while for it to kick in. Now you're not going to obsess about the hair. The less you obsess about it, the more it's going to stop and the healthier it's going to become. But the big thing is just getting your focus away from it. I'm just telling you to do a quick Google search because it'll give you a reason to stop looking at the problem. That's the big thing. Hope that makes sense. That, by the way, is why all this stuff works. When people put out this anti-aging stuff that you guys buy and some people have results with it, it's because they endow that thing with belief. This thing is going to solve the problem, so now I don't need to worry about it anymore. It's not because the pill matters, all right? But you're giving it that faith. That's what you guys want to use these things for, okay? Hope that's helpful. Divide the Spoil says, the 20s were very difficult for me. The pressure to be financially stable and the sacrificing stages. 31 years old now, and with lucky events, life is completely different. It's true. I remember being in my 30s, looking at my 20s, thinking, wow, that sucked. And now I'm in my 40s, looking at my 30s, like, yikes, what was that? But at the time, it was an improvement from the past. So that's the thing, is that you can look forward to your 40s are going to feel the same way. Your 50s are going to feel the same way. Your 60s are going to feel the same way. Thank you for sharing that. Reed says, I'm much wiser than my younger self. I see old videos of myself or old things I wrote and think, what a nitwit. I have that too. Do you guys have that? That's another good thing to dwell on. That's probably a good thing to do in reverse. I love this. This just kind of clicked for me. Have you guys ever done this where you've looked at stuff, like maybe you go back and look in your camera roll from like 15 years ago, or you go look at journals you wrote when you were younger and you're like, what a moron. Like I look at stuff that I did and I'm like rolling my eyes. That's a really great thing to do too, because it puts you into the contrast of how much you've grown, how much wiser you are, how much smarter you are, how much more you got your act together now. And it makes you appreciate your current age. So that's another fun thing that you can do. Thanks for bringing that up. Marcus Picante on Instagram says, how do you deal with having reached your dream body once, but you gain the weight back and let yourself go? Is it a good idea to look at old pictures of yourself for motivation? I would be looking at it as, all right, I'm going to do better this time. I'm going to knock it out of the park. The temptation can be like, sometimes like if you were like maybe a bodybuilding competitor or you did something when you were younger and you're looking at that image of yourself and thinking, I'm never going to look like that again. That was the best it was ever going to be. Okay. You want to avoid that. What you want to look at instead is, I already have the proficiency and the know-how to do that. Okay. Somebody who's done that once has a better shot of doing it again because you've already gotten into vibrational resonance with it. So you are at a better advantage moving forward to do even better. This is something that I tell myself if I ever get injured or I get sidelined. So I know you guys know I talk about how I work out like every day, but once in a while something will happen where it sidelines me and I can't work out a particular body part or I got to take time off, and it is what it is. Well, if I look at my body before the injury, that was the best I was going to do. It's all downhill from here. Well, I'm not going to have a good result when I get back in the gym. So instead, what I'll tell myself is, you built it up great before. You're going to do it again because you have practice. You can do it even better. And then I look forward to that process of building it even better. That's the thing. It's a challenge to do even better next time. Because again, older's better. You did that well that time, you can do even better the next time. You'd be surprised how well you can do comparatively, even when you get older. See, Faroki says, I feel guilty about this and need help. My mom is struggling and close to the end of life, but it's lingering for months, so I wake up every day and hoping she makes to the other side peacefully. Okay. So then that, okay, so yeah, we're talking about aging. So then, the idea of death kind of hovers into that, right? Here's how I feel on death. You can take this, use this as your own if you want, or you don't have to. But we talk about how you're an eternal being, right? You are an eternity having a lifetime experience. That's what's going on. And I was talking to someone about this the other day. You're an eternal being. If you live, but nobody wants to be eternal, right? Like if you had the opportunity to be immortal, pretty much none of you would take it because you're like, God, that just sounds, I can't even wrap my mind around that. That's a horrible idea. So what the eternal has done is it's created lifetimes. So you can have the individual experience of a beginning, middle, and an end. So you have kind of this chapter and you don't get stuck in eternity. Does that make sense? So the lifetime with the beginning, middle, and the end is actually a benefit to the question or the struggle of having to be immortal. All right. So the reason why I'm saying this is that there's always this fight that goes on with people at the end of their life. Okay. We don't want to let them go. I'm afraid to lose them. You are eternal and she is eternal. Therefore, you're always together. Okay. And she's about to embark on the next journey. Does that make sense? So you're seeing her at the end of one journey, but she's closer to being the youngest of all of us. Does that make sense? That's the way I like to think about it, is that when somebody comes to the end of their life, they're ready for that new start again. So now we're not pushing against it. And then along those same lines, if you're worried about losing her, again, you're eternal, she's eternal. You guys will have an eternity with each other. There'll be eternal lifetimes where you come back together. Okay, so when she moves on, you guys are closer to coming back to a new start with the next one. Does that make sense? You got to massage that one because there's this tendency to worry about when death, it's over. No, this chapter is done because we didn't want to be immortal. Okay, so it's a good thing. She's going to move on to the next one, start the new beginning, and you're going to meet up with her again in the next one. Make sense? Hope that's helpful. And I condolences. I know it's hard. Louise says, nothing wrong about doing older you are, the better you are, part 2. I will consider it if you guys have liked it. All right, guys, on that note, I do plan on being back on Thursday, so I will be back again in a few days. So if you would like to join me again, make sure that you have signed up for notifications if you're on YouTube, because if you get the notifications, it'll tell you when I go live. Also, make sure you follow me here on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you've taken that manifesting test if you have not yet. Again, manifestingtest.com. It's a free 5-minute test where you can put something out and watch it come back so that you know for sure that you are the creator of your reality. But thanks so much for joining me for this one. I've appreciated answering all of your questions. All the supers were lovely. Look forward to seeing you guys again. But that's going to do it for this one. All right, guys. I'll see you at the next